Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm Lainey, Suprema Technical Consulting Engineer. Today, I'd like to introduce you new features from BioStar 2.8.15 to 2.8.17. The webinar is held on demand and will take about 30 minutes long. You can watch it in your time zone at the time convenient. What if you have a question? I'll explain it to you at the end of this video. You can check this video you are watching now through two channels: technical training sessions on Suprema Connect website and Suprema Technical Support site. Need presentation materials for today's video? If so, please visit our Suprema Technical Support site to get additional information along with the materials. Now, let's look at today's webinar's content. Today, we will learn about three versions of BioStar 2's 2.8.15, 2.8.16, and 2.8.17. Of these, 2.8.16 is the version that has lots of improvements, so this is the part you should focus on the most. BioStar 2.8.17 cannot be downloaded from Suprema's official website, but you can directly experience the functions reflected in this version in the next version, 2.9.0. After introducing new features for the free versions of BioStar 2, we will share major bug fixes with you. Finally, I'd like to wrap up with a guide on what to do if you have any questions about today's on-demand webinar. Let's dive into the session. The first chapter is BioStar 2.8.15. The major new feature reflected in BioStar 2.8.15 is the Log4j2 version upgrade. Log4j2 version 2.17.1 was applied to BioStar 2.8.15, and user synchronization and BioStar 2 performance improvement were proceeded. If you're not satisfied with the performance of BioStar 2 in the previous version, we would like to recommend you to upgrade the server version to the latest. Yes, the introduction to BioStar 2.8.15 is over. Pretty simple, right? But from now on, you need to pay attention. The second chapter is BioStar 2.8.16. This version has a lot of improvements to access control functions of BioStar 2. From UI changes to new features that can only be used by matching the device models and firmware version. Let's check out what's new and improved. First, as shown in the red box, count for visual face has been added to the dashboard since BioStar 2.8.16. By the way, if you look at the screen, there are two face items, visual face and face. Please pay attention. Visual face is the credential used by Face Station F2 device, which is different from the face credential used by Face Station 2 and Face Lite. Second, we have improved the user interface of the Visual Face mobile enrollment page. Can you catch the difference from the previous version on the right? Third, there is a field to add a footer to the email when sending the Visual Face mobile enrollment link. Customers who need to provide instructions or additional information along with a link can fill out the footer box. Next, the Use User ID icon that existed when registering a QR or barcode has been removed. Suprema recommends using an automatically generated card ID rather than an easy-to-guess user ID because QR and barcode can be issued not only with BioStar 2, but also externally. If customers want to use their user ID as before, they can manually enter the ID. The next enhancement is the fixed constraint that weekend card ID cannot start with 0. We allowed 0 to be entered in the first field. Also, we imposed a restriction that all 4 data fields cannot consist with only zeros. However, this improvement does not mean that the following cases are supported. Case 1, when the facility code starts with 0 and other numbers are entered consecutively. Case 2, when card ID starts with 0 and other numbers are entered consecutively. I do not doubt that this improvement will interest customers who have registered users in bulk through CSV import. Suprema added the error description column to the user list file user import error that failed CSV import. Let's explore this feature with a sample case. We proceeded with the CSV import by setting the expired date of user ID 3 to exceed the specification of BioStar 2. At this time, as we all know, the maximum value of user expiry date time of BioStar 2 based on version 2.8.16 is December 31st, 2030. When CSV import is performed, warning pop-up on the screen will occur because it is out of spec. If you download a CSV file by clicking the download icon, a new column called Error Description is created in the last column, and you will find a hint why the CSV import failed. The following features enhancement should be carefully checked by customers who need to upgrade from the old BioStar 2 to the latest. Suprema supports custom installation for sites where the BioStar 2 server and database needs to be installed separately or for sites that want to use MS SQL. For these cases, we guide customers to create separate BioStar 2 AC, TA, and VE databases. However, this was not followed well on some sites. In this case of operating BioStar 2 AC and TA and VE database as one, various issues may occur during BioStar 2 server operation. To prevent this in advance, Suprema added logic to check the database name for custom installation sites. Please note that customers who previously used the same name for BioStar 2's AC, TA, and VE database cannot upgrade to BioStar 2.8.16 or above. The eighth item is the ability to delete the unassigned card list through the BioStar 2 UI. As shown on the screen, select the unassigned card you want to delete and click the Delete Card icon at the top right. As for the ninth item, both devices option has been added to the dual authentication setting of the door. You can now choose to use both entry and exit devices when setting up dual authentication. The 10th item allows you to add any type of XStation 2 to our core station as a slave device. However, to use this function, core station firmware must be version 1.5.2 or higher. To use this function, there are a few cautions at this time. First, if XStation 2 is connected only as a slave of core station, a firmware upgrade is not possible. Please upgrade after connecting directly to BioStar 2 by wiring an Ethernet cable to XStation 2. Next, Secure Temper is also available for XStation 2 slave devices. Finally, the image log is unavailable when XStation 2 is in slave mode. A following new features is an option not to show the preview image of visual face and face credential in BioStar 2. Please apply this feature if you do not want to preview the user's face credential images on the server due to the security or other reasons. You can enable this function under Setting, Server, User/Device Management of the BioStar 2 server. Check the changes when activating the Hide Face Credential Preview Image functions for each credential. First of all, the face credentials of FaceStation 2 and FaceLite. The smile icon poses large in the center of the red box before face registration, as shown on the left. After registering the face, it changes to a picture with a small smile inside the frame instead of the actual user's face as shown on the right. The same applies when registering visual face credentials for FaceStation F2. For users who have completed visual face registration, a human icon is displayed in the frame, as shown on the image on the right. Even when issuing a smart card with visual face, an icon is replaced with an actual registered user's face photo, like on the screen. The following new feature supports using an Active Directory account when logging into the BioStar 2. If you go to the Active Directory menu of BioStar 2 settings, you can see that a new toggle icon has been added. However, this function also has precautions. Only Active Directory users synced with BioStar 2 can log in, and you must set operator level for this user. When syncing with Active Directory users with the same login ID as the login ID used in BioStar 2 or whose ID is 1 will be excluded. User ID 1 administrator can log in to use BioStar 2 if there is an issue such as a system failure in Active Directory server. The new functions to be checked from now on are only available when you match the device model, firmware, and the BioStar 2 version. Devices and firmware that support each function will be updated sequentially, and Suprema will announce it through the technical support website so customers can follow up more quickly. The 13th new feature is the added relay deactivation option for exit button input. Suprema added the option to set the door open request log. The 13th new feature is the added relay deactivation option for exit button input. Suprema added the option to set the door open request log to come, but the relay does not operate when the exit button is pressed. As of August 15, 2022, only BioLite N2 1.5.0 is supported. The next new feature is a detailed event log for door unlock. In the previous version of BioStar 2, it was impossible to distinguish whether the door was opened by pressing the exit button rather than device authentication, or the administrator forced open the door through BioStar 2 in the event log. However, from BioStar 2.8.16, door unlocked, exit button, and door unlocked by operator are supported, improving the customer convenience. This function is supported only when using BioLite N2 1.5.0 or higher firmware as of August 15, 2022. A new function to be introduced on this page is setting the smart card output byte order. In the past, when sending the output to Weekend or OSDP after tapping the smart card, you could send it only in fixed byte order. So, if you need to change the byte order type, you have to customize the firmware. However, from BioStar 2.8.16, the byte orders of Smart Card Weekend and OSDP output has been improved so that customers can directly select MSB or LSB according to the requirement of the installation site. This function is supported by the latest firmware version of XPS 2 and BioLite N2, and please refer to the table below for the firmware version of each device. However, this feature has some limitations. This function is supported only when the Suprema device is directly connected to BioStar 2 via Ethernet, RS-485 mode, default, master, or slave but connected through Ethernet. You cannot set when the Suprema device is connected as a slave device of the other Suprema device only. Options are only applicable for Weekend output and OSDP output. Write smart card and read card are not affected. Operation according to RS-485 mode. Default, master, slave but connected through Ethernet. Operates according to the device's smart card output byte order settings. When connected to the slave device of the Suprema device, The slave transmits the card ID to the master device and operates according to the smart card output byte order setting in the master device. Operation according to the weekend output. When output info is card ID, operates according to the setting. When output info is user ID, not affected. Actions according to the card type. MyFair and Deskfire operates according to the smart card output byte order setting. iClass not affected. Output pack data as it is. BioStar 2 QR not affected. The last new feature to introduce in BioStar 2.8.16 is Use QRS card option. This function is suitable for sites when third-party QR is enrolled, and it will be helpful to review sites where you want to use QR codes for visitors. This feature will be supported in NextStation 2, however, the firmware has not yet been released as of August 15, 2022. Before using this function, remember the following precautions. Use QRS card is available only when Use QR barcode is enabled. This function is not supported for BioStar 2 QR. This function is not supported for Smart Card. Before the firmware is released, we have prepared a sample scenario for your understanding. A user ID 2 Tom, has been assigned a CSN card. Prepare the XStation 2 QR model devices. For comparison, we prepared one device supported by the Use QRS card function as one is not supported. Tom taps the CSN card, the RF card he has on the XStation 2. At this time, both XStation 2 return access granted for user Tom. Generate a QR code with the same value as the CSN that Tom has. User Tom tries to authenticate on XStation 2 with the above QR code. As you can see, the only enabled device with the Use QRS card function will return access granted. Now, let's look at the new features of BioStar 2.8.17. BioStar 2.8.17 is the version that reflects the improvements to the time attendance function of BioStar 2. Version 2.8.17 is a version that cannot be distributed, so that you can check improved features in our next version, BioStar 2.9.0. First, the security vulnerabilities of BioStar 2 TA has been improved. We restricted unsupported cipher suits from server settings, updated DB driver to the latest version, updated jQuery version to the latest version, added security check while using time and attendance API through WebSocket. The second new feature in BioStar 2.8.17 supports deleting time and attendance punch logs after a certain period. Before applying this feature to the field, there are a few things to note. When the function is activated, the entire DNA records that has exceeded the storage deadline will be deleted. Synchronized punch logs from the AC database, authentication records on the device, modified punch logs manually modified by administrator or other people, leave records manually set by administrator or other managers. It is highly recommended to back up the BioStar 2 database before using this function. Once applied, all the already deleted attendance and leave records cannot be restored. For example, if you previously set it to 30 days and then change it to 60 days, then the 30-day record corresponding to the difference between two settings is not stored again in the database, and Suprema also cannot restore them. The last new feature in BioStar 2.8.17 is the ability to input a custom device name when using TA's PunchLog API. It allows for creating punch logs via API and mobile enrollment, and to record the device information to the environment. The previous API did not have a feature allowing users to set div_env as custom. As in the sample shown on the screen, if you input custom device name through the API, you can check that data in the div_env column of the punch log table of the TA database. Let's find out with a sample. This is an example of running TA punch log API in Postman. I'm generating the punch log through the API manually. The sample on the screen does not have a parameter called device datetime. If you do not enter the device datetime in this way, the current time when the API is executed is automatically entered. Before running with the API, only one punch log was checked. However, manually creating a punch log through API, you can see that a record containing punch type, device name, and device ID information was created as I entered. If you're not sure what the BioStar 2 TA API is or how to use it, following on the screen guide for today's webinar for more information. First, go to the Suprema Connect website, find the BioStar 2 new features and new APIs webinar video, and play it from 16 minutes and 30 seconds. Our API specialist, Peter, will introduce you the essentials to check. Next, visit the Suprema technical support site. You can find various references on how to use BioStar 2 TA APIs. So far, we have looked at the new features for all three versions of BioStar 2 from 2.8.15 to 2.8.17. In this chapter, we'll check each version's significant bug fixes. The items introduced on each page are selected, so please check the full version through each revision note. This is a bug fix in BioStar 2.8.15. A total of 3 modifications have been made. This is a bug fix in BioStar 2.8.16. 2.8.16 has a lot of fixes, so customers who experienced inconvenience while using previous versions, please check the complete list of bug fixes through the revision notes. At last, a list of bug fixes for BioStar 2.8.17. Among these, the modifications many customers have been waiting for are probably number 1, number 2, and number 5 items on the screen. Please review the improved feature by upgrading BioStar 2. Training on new features and improved features of BioStar 2 ends now. Here is a guide on how to ask questions about the on-demand webinar you've been watching today. If you have questions about today's webinar, please go to the Suprema technical support site and register a ticket. You can simply Google Suprema technical support or access it through the Suprema official website as shown on the screen. Please sign up or log in and register your inquiry as a ticket. This is the end of today's training. We appreciate you taking the time. Please be safe and see you next time.